Hello, welcome to the Evolve Vets podcast.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Bethany. Together, let's stop revolving and start evolving. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Evolve Vets podcast. I'm Bethany Weinheimer, and today we're going to talk about something so fun and really exciting. We're going to talk about how veterinarians should be learning from Taylor Swift and the things that we should take away. Whether you're a true Swiftie like me, or you're Swift conscious but not totally sure where you're at, or if you're somebody who just doesn't want to lose their sparkle in our amazing profession, here we have something that we can learn from Taylor Swift. As we know, she released the new album. My boyfriend and I went to the official release party in theaters, and it was magical because we got to learn a little bit about her storytelling. We got to see the behind the scenes of how she created her most recent music video. And on top of that, we got to just understand the thoughts and premise behind why she created the songs that she did. So my boyfriend and I are sitting in the theater. We're in our orange. We're dressed to impress. And we're just ultimately really eager to learn more about the backstory, why she made the songs that she did. And it was so cool because we got to see the behind the scenes and really go on the journey with her of what it was like to reconnect with the people from the Eras tour and show up as a strong leader and encourage her team through hard scenes and different shots. And then also we got to appreciate her creative insights and abilities. While we were in the theater, I had this amazing realization that Taylor Swift not only has recreated herself multiple times, but she ultimately crafts her own story. And there's so many things that we can learn in veterinary medicine and build resiliency the same way she has. So our profession is hard. There's so many challenges that arise and so many things that make it difficult to stay in this profession long term. And when it comes to people like Taylor Swift, how can we learn from her, the ultimate, goddess who's been in music for an incredibly long amount of time and constantly re-innovating herself to become a better version? So let's dive in. I remember a time where I hit a wall, and this we can call my burnout era, because I totally developed an apathy towards veterinary medicine. I was running multiple hospitals, saying yes to everything, constantly exhausted and not prioritizing the things that really aligned with my life, which is travel, community, adventure. And as you can see here, I'm actually filming this podcast from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We're in my camper van. We're doing a few weeks work from home trip. And so this is an absolute alignment. Moving through that burnout era and really into this space of alignment has felt so peaceful and restorative. And all of this happened because I leaned into coaching, and it's transformed my entire life. I had this moment where I had somebody call me after hours on a Saturday night, and I couldn't return their phone call real time because I was spending time with my community, and that was a bigger priority. And I got in a lot of trouble for not prioritizing that phone call. But the reality is I had to start choosing and showing the universe that I wanted to prioritize my relationship and being in love outside of veterinary medicine. And so I love that Taylor Swift's new album kind of focuses on those same qualities. So let's dive in to why. Lesson 1 from Taylor Swift is reinvention is the ultimate form of resilience. Whether that's the indie pop folk to country singer to pop artists that we know now, Taylor has been able to constantly change and reiterate who she wants to be based on the season of life that she's in and the life experience that she's grown through. We have the same thing in veterinary medicine, whether you're a new grad or you're a vet student, maybe you're hoping to get into vet school, whether you're that senior clinician, or maybe you've gotten promoted to medical director or an area medical director, chief veterinary officer, whatever your title might be, you can constantly re-innovate and change who you are. And you don't have to fit into a box. Taylor's really good about not being stuffed in a box. And we as veterinary professionals can evolve and adjust and bring ourselves to the next level. For me, this really happened when I was trying to redefine who I was without even using my job title. So who is Bethany as a person? What are my key aligned and core values? And how do I show up day to day? And if I think about my core values, community, adventure, impact, and luxury, if I think about those 4 things and I don't associate my job title or what I do for a living, because so much of my life was driven toward go to high school and make great grades so you can get into college, get into vet school so you can become an amazing veterinarian. My entire life was all about checking these boxes. And now I get to actually move forward through that and into this era of alignment and reinvent myself in a way that's focused on community, my boyfriend, like spending time in these amazing outdoors, which is just incredible. And, prioritizing serving you and changing lives, doing this coaching work that we're bringing to life is just so spectacular. And I'm loving every minute of it. The Evolve Vets was built for this exact thing, to bring women along this journey, to be able to coach and support and serve others. So that way you guys can all live with this alignment, this sovereignty that, fuels my heart and makes my life better. And part of my summer evolution was actually going through this journey of deciding, okay, this doesn't serve me anymore. Like, how can I get more focused on the things that mean the world to me? And the more that I lean into that, the better. Lesson number 2 from Taylor that we can learn is owning your own narrative. Taylor has done an incredible job of always putting herself in the hero seat of her story. You'll never hear her playing the victim mindset. She'll say, this terrible thing happened to me, but I rose above it. And this is how I can construct a story in a way that I am the hero. Like, she gets to write it that way. And we have the same ability to write ourselves as the hero in our own stories too. And it's easy in vet med to be defined by the last Google review from the last customer. It's easy to be defined by your medical director or the next case that you see. But the reality is, like, what if we defined ourselves by something more and wrote our own story so we're the hero? What if we wrote our story to where everything that was happening around us was happening for us instead of to us? That's the key indicator that I want to lean into and that I've tried living my life by the last probably 7 years. And it's done huge impact to me to be able to transition that from one to the other. Sharing a vulnerable moment here, when I was probably less than a year out of school. So I was a new grad. I had this case that we took to surgery, had a bladder stone. And unfortunately, this pet died under anesthesia while we were in surgery. And there's no real reason. Like, we read the blood work, we read the panels, we researched this case. Like, why on earth did this pet die? Was doing fine under drugs, but we couldn't get him back. And it was this really tough case for me because I tried calling the owner, getting a hold of them in the middle of the night, and they didn't answer. So the next morning they met me at the hospital and I told them the news. And in that moment, I was met with so much grace and compassion from them. They just were like, we knew you did the best you could. And, we've lived an amazing life with her. And now we get to transition on. And when I think about writing my story, every time I go into surgery, I get to think of that day and make sure we're doing everything that we can. We can't save every pet that we work on, but we can do our best to make sure we're prepared, that we're monitoring closely, that we're making sure that we have the best standards possible. So every pet we treat has the best options. With this case, I was looping on what I could have done differently, how I could have handled it. And I was really in that victim mindset around and blaming myself. This was my fault. I should have done better. I should have done more. And in reality, there was nothing else I could have done. So instead, what I chose to do moving forward was, before I do any surgery, I give honor and a moment of silence to the pet that was lost that day. And I'm thankful that it's never happened again. It's very rare that you lose a patient like that under anesthesia. In that moment, I chose to write the story in a way that pain became a teacher and an opportunity to learn, to make sure we're, doing every test before going into surgery, to make sure we're very appropriate and ready and serving the pets that come in. Lesson 3 we can learn from Taylor is transitioning pain into purpose. Think about her Reputation era, right? There was the big scandal with Kanye and everything, and she went into hiding. She hibernated. She healed herself. She took the time that she needed. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest. And then when you come back, use the pain that existed and transition that into something that can actually make you better. Taylor has the ability to take heartbreak and disgust and people mistreating her, bullying her, talking negatively about her, and use that as a way to construct something beautiful and make herself more driven, more powerful. And we have the same ability. Maybe that's a concerned customer that is really upset about a case that you've had. We take loss, we take grief, we take compassion fatigue. These are all parts of our job. And what if we had the ability to take that pain and turn it into purpose? Martha Beck talks about this in her book, The Way of Integrity. And in this book, it's amazing because she talks about the difference between pain and suffering. And pain is the event, like when it hurts, after a breakup, or if somebody's making fun of you, it's okay that hurts. That's normal human emotion, to lean into that, to process it, to let it go. And if we loop on it and we seethe over it, then it becomes suffering. It's almost as if you're choosing it, to replay it, to live in it, instead of letting that pain exist, heal from it, and start to move on. It doesn't mean you never think of it again, but how often do you think of it? With what mindset do you think of it in? So I'd highly recommend that book if anybody's interested in learning more about the difference between pain and suffering. It's an interesting philosophy book, and I think it's a really good one. Another industry leader is Brene Brown. She talks about this post-traumatic growth period. Like, how do you grow after you've been through something traumatic? And there's been a ton of neurologic research on this too. The ability to overcome and redefine, change your mindset around it. It doesn't mean you're never going to experience bad things in this life, but when you experience them, can you flip that switch and change that mindset into seeing how the universe is working for you? The truth is, your hardest seasons don't have to define you. They can actually refine you and make you better, make you more eager to learn, give you that purpose. And for me, part of that pain that I experienced in my past was going through and experiencing my broken engagement. It was a really difficult time, but I chose to see that as an opportunity and see that the universe had more for me. I think if I would have stayed in that relationship, I would have never become a medical director or been a leader or traveled the world. I've moved 6 times in the last 5 years. Like, it's been such a fun journey, and I have my camper van and my dog and now my new boyfriend, and life like couldn't be better. And I'm building this business to be able to serve each of you and do coaching with each of you. And so honestly, I'm just incredibly honored and wouldn't want it any other way. But if I didn't have that pain, I don't think I would be as driven. I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't have the leadership experience and coaching experience to be able to serve each of you. That was one thing I also learned from Taylor. Lesson 4. With this one, Taylor shows that an authentic connection is above all else. And she does a great job of relaying that to her fans and the people that follow her, other artists. She does a great job of that as well. And I think we have that same responsibility, and we can apply that to veterinary medicine in many ways. How do we quickly form an authentic relationship with the pets that are in our hospitals, with our peers, fellow doctors, our nursing teams, our assistants, our technicians, everybody that's there helping, maybe even our leadership team? How do we show up and help serve them? And when we show up authentically, that's how we actually get more feedback and appreciation from our teams. And that's how we show up better as a leader. When I first started my leadership journey, it was a really interesting thing because I used to think being a leader meant I had to have it all together and all buttoned up. Thankfully, that is so not true. When I started being vulnerable and telling people like, hey, I really don't know how to do this. Do you have any ideas? Can you help me? Then it became more of a co-creation, and we were able to work together to find solutions that actually were better than the ideas I would have come up with by myself anyway. And so as we lean into like, how can we learn from Taylor Swift? Like, if you create an authentic relationship and show up exactly who you are in the workplace, you're going to be so much better as a leader, so much better as a doctor. You're going to have that consistency with the owners, being in the emergency room and having dogs come in with gunshot wounds and being able to be vulnerable with them and share a story about how my childhood dog actually was wounded with a gunshot wound by a neighbor when I was a senior in high school. I was at a dairy judging competition. Yes, that's a thing. Look it up. It's crazy. I was at a dairy judging competition and had just given reasons, and my dad loaded us up in the car and was like, we need to go. Casey's been shot and we need to drive to Houston. I think we were in Waco at the time. We left the award ceremony. I actually had won first in reasons that day, but we missed. We sped all the way down to Sugar Land, Texas, and thank goodness to the veterinarians that were there that day. It was such an emotional journey because our childhood pet had been shot, and they let me come in because I wanted to be a veterinarian one day, and they showed me the x-rays and there were just BBs all throughout his chest. They didn't know if he was going to make it. And I wasn't in the room, but my dad tells this amazing story of how, he got down on the ground and was looking at Casey and his eyes were closed. He wasn't super stable. They were actively giving him a blood transfusion. And he looked at Casey and was like, hey, buddy, like, I'm here for you. I made it, whatever you need. It's making me emotional. But he said he opened one eye. As he was laying there on the table, he opened one eye and put his paw on my dad's chest. And my dad was like, here's the credit card, whatever he needs. Moments like that where I can share stories of pets overcoming gunshot wounds. Casey lived in that story, and he was with us for probably like 6 more years after. So thank you to Sugar Land Vet Specialists and all the amazing doctors there. I think it defined me wanting to be an emergency doctor now And being able to share that story with owners that come in for that same thing, gunshot wound to a dog, it feels hopeless. And being able to share that vulnerably with the customer gives them so much hope. And sharing real life experience and how it can bring out an emotional side of us. I know a lot of times we're in the hospital, we tend to shield some of those emotions because it's safer to compartmentalize. But the reality is, if we can reconnect and reach out and share where we're at, that's where the secret sauce lies. All right, and lesson 5, things that we can learn from Taylor Swift as veterinarians, is that we get to celebrate our eras. Taylor Swift doesn't hide who she was in the past. She's not ashamed of it. There's no fear or dismay there. Taylor leans into it. She just did an Eras tour last year, the last 2 years, basically. Almost a 3.5, 4-hour concert. I went several times. Shout out to all my friends I went with. But the reality is she owns all the versions of herself, and she looks at each of them with grace and understanding of where she was in those moments. And knowing where I'm at now, it's easy to look back and say like, oh, how did, Bethany in vet school not better understand, communication, and to create a lot of shame around that version of self. But the reality is, if I can look at that version of self and say, hey, she was doing the best she could. She was going from class from 9 to 5, doing labs and studying and trying to make good grades and run all the clubs. Like, there's so much grace for her. And can we look at that version of self with love and be proud enough of it to re-perform it time and time again? And it's so easy to look back and say, oh, Bethany, when she was a new leader, she was such a people pleaser and she didn't give anybody real accountability or real feedback. And those are all very real things that I did. But I also was a really good, energetic, and enthusiastic leader. And can I look at that version of myself and say, wow, I'm so glad I started young and figured it out early, and that I got a coach and got help and really invested in meditation and learning how to be a better leader young, because now I get to lead teams and do this incredible job as field medical director at Veterinary Emergency Group. Like, I can love the version of me that ran a market for 2.5 years and learned business. Like, when I started that job, I didn't know a P&L, and I walked out of that job successfully running the top market in the company. Like, those are really amazing things to be proud of. And I can still choose different eras moving forward. So I think that that's a really big takeaway. Give yourself some grace when you look back at your past. Don't judge it. We can be really hard on ourselves as veterinarians, so let's not judge it. Let's give it compassion. Recognize that we were doing the best that we could, and then put the work in to be better next time for the next era that's coming, and refocus on the things that matter most to you. Here's the true sunshine. Whether you're in your red era and you're going from chaos to clarity, or you're in your reputation era, maybe you're setting boundaries and coming back strong with confidence. Maybe you're in your lover era like me, where you're prioritizing life outside of work and finding alignment in the things that bring you joy, like camper lifestyle. Whatever era that you're in, like, find love, find ways to rewrite your story, be the hero in your own journey, find ways to build resiliency, find purpose in the pain that you've experienced, and build something amazing. And of course, be proud of who you are. Those are going to be the best things that you can do. And I'm so excited that you've been here at the Evolve Vets. We offer coaching, so please check us out if you're interested in having somebody to walk you through life and be an accountability buddy. I'd love to be your guide and help support you in your journey to being amazing. Yay! So whether you're a super hardcore Swiftie like me, or whether you're not quite sure about your relationship to Taylor Swift, I hope these 5 ways of relating to Taylor make so much sense for veterinary medicine, and how you can show up as a veterinarian and build a life of success, alignment, love, and peace through your whole career. Love you guys.
Until next time, let's stop revolving and start evolving.